You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Foreign Affairs Undersecretary for Migrant Workers Affairs, Eduardo de Vega. Yusek, always a pleasure. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Good morning. Magandang umaga.
Okay, so when is the Philippine team expected to leave to somehow resolve this issue with Kuwait?
Yes, there should be a team leaving tonight. Some may leave tomorrow. They're composed of DFA, DMW, and OWA officials. Now, resolve. Okay, I just want to manage expectations. They're not going to come back with this issue fully resolved, but these are exploratory talks, which eventually, hopefully, will lead to
a
long-lasting solution. So at least we're talking to indicate to the Kuwaitis that, we're not quarreling with them. We just want to clarify some issues.
Yeah, that's the question. Yusek, they were saying apparently that there was a labor agreement that was violated. Which labor agreement is this?
You would remember in 2018, early 2018, the Kuwaitis were, rather offended at some actions being taken by the Philippine government in the protection of our workers. No, we were actually rescuing workers ourselves. And we were even filming them.
Yes, I remember that.
The previous administration. So there was a diplomatic impasse. They even declared our ambassador there persona non grata. We had to be sent home. And because of that, we came out with an agreement, labor agreement, the same year, 2018, on managing the deployment process of household workers to Kuwait. So it's a good agreement. It's just a matter of implementing it. And they are claiming that there were some pending issues which we haven't resolved yet, because one major issue at the time was our management of the shelter for runaway OFWs. And we only said that we will address this. But, honestly, we are also obligated under our law to maintain the shelter, because we cannot have abused Filipino maids with nowhere to go. Our law requires us in places with a lot of OFWs, with a big concentration of OFWs, to maintain a center where our workers could go in case they need assistance. So that's one issue we have to resolve between both countries.
Opo. So clearly, nagkaroon po tayo ng pagkukulang because of the shelters.
Well, ang pagkakulang natin is not the shelter itself, pero ang nangyari po, dahil ang sikip-sikip na ng shelter, kasi at any given time, there are hundreds of Filipinos at the shelter. Kasi every time we send home from the shelter, we're able to repatriate home a few hundred, then another 100 comes in. Because palagi nga, mayroong mga tumataka sa amo. So that's something we have to discuss with the Kuwaitis. It's something that they have to understand. No? Now, ang nangyari po, recently, after the visit of DMW officials there, to check up on the shelter, because the shelters are being paid for by the POLO, no, under the Department of Migrant Workers, no. It was, seen that masyado na masikip. It was too congested. The main shelter in Sura, in Kuwait City, no. So they actually housed in hotel rooms about 167 or 160 plus Filipinos from the shelter. So that was what Kuwait was apparently objecting to. In fact, they, over the weekend, were sending some police and immigration officials to check up on that hotel. It's one hotel. Yeah. And what we did was we brought them out of the hotel and brought them back to the shelter, kahit na masikip. So that they could not accuse us of violating any Kuwaiti laws.
I see. So, am I understanding this correctly, Yusek? Dahil masikip na po yung shelter, minabuti ng officials na ilagay yung ating mga kababayan sa mga hotel, to which Kuwait is saying that's a violation of our agreement. They're supposed to be in shelters and not in hotels?
Well, because the shelter at least has some sort of automatic protection. Because you could say, because the Kuwaitis were informed of it years before, that it's some sort of extension of the Philippine mission.
Okay.
which under international law would be inviolable. But hotel rooms are private. Hotel room is hotel room.
Okay.
Honestly, we only wish that they had discussed this with us before they suddenly dropped the bombshell last Wednesday. But that's why we're going to talk to them.
That's why. Actually, I was gonna go to. You seem surprised. You know, the DFA and the DMW were surprised with this. But I just want to add, sir, kung ganyan ho kadami yung mga kababayan natin na tumatakas at nagpupunta po sa mga center, there's clearly something wrong.
Yes, there's clearly something wrong, and that is why the Secretary of Migrant Workers, in fact, suspended or deferred the further deployment of household workers. She announced that last February 9, and that was a few weeks after the horrendous, heinous crime committed against Jolie Biranara. So, for those who are requesting, or even demanding, or expecting the government to resolve this impasse with Kuwait and allow again workers to come in and out, well, I'd like to remind them that the current situation was came out because of that murder.
Yeah.
And even without that murder, there's a problem when hundreds keep escaping.
Yeah.
We are not criticizing the government of Kuwait. In fact, the government of Kuwait already arrested, charged, and is trying the suspect. But we seek justice. If I may, be so bold as to mention the other main issue. In the same way that the lawyers of the former Senator De Lima are seeking justice, the Philippine government is seeking justice for Jolie Biranara. And there will be consequences eventually, some difficulties here and there. And maybe our kababayans will have to understand that maybe there will be no new deployment muna ng mga bagong OFWs. But it's all for the welfare of our kababayans.
Absolutely. Let's also not forget Joanna Files, sir, yung pong nangyari sa kanya. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Yusek.
Naputol pa. Yung kay Demafelis, well, actually, they did convict them, but the accused were foreigners and they were allowed out of Kuwait. So, mahirap ngayon, they're under other jurisdictions. So, we hope in the case of Ranara, we'll see something different. We'll see the triumph of the rule of law in Kuwait. Just like we've always said, the court system in the Philippines and the rule of law in the Philippines is working.
Yusek, how many Filipinos are affected? I was reading about, is it right? 3,000? Kasi, again, just for clarification, the ban is for entry of anyone except residents of Kuwait. Pero you're right, sir. Again, balikan lang po natin, it was in February that the Department of Migrant Workers issued a ban on new hires dyan po sa Kuwait. Pero I guess that's still the problem.
Household only. Household workers.
It's just household workers, hindi po lahat ng empleyado. I see.
No.
Okay.
Ang ginawa ng Kuwait, ganun na. Well, if I may use the vernacular, ganun na. Okay, wag na lang iba. Wag na lang iba. So, 70% of our workers there are household workers. Ang sabi ng DMW sa akin, we send about 2,000 or 3,000 workers every year who are not household workers, mga skilled workers. So they will be affected.
They won't be. No?
They will be.
I see.
The 2,000 to 3,000 every year who are household workers are non-household workers. Because the household workers, wala naman nagalit Wala naman nagalit sa ban sa atin Wala naman nanawagan na i-lift na. So it's a skilled workers who will be affected.
Right. So let's find out, sir. Let's get more updates on the next couple of days or even weeks as soon as the team makes its way to Kuwait for exploratory talks, hoping for a resolution on this. DFA Migrant Workers Affairs Undersecretary Eduardo de Vega, thank you for your time, sir, as always.
Always. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.